expanse of bioluminescent flora and predatory fauna. The dense canopy stretched for miles, blocking out the twin suns that burned faintly in the distance. What little light reached the surface glinted off massive trees with roots that coiled above the ground like serpents. The peace of the jungle shattered as two fiery streaks cut across the sky. Escape pods, each trailing smoke and debris, plummeted through the atmosphere, leaving trails of destruction in their wake. The first pod slammed into a grove of phosphorescent trees, scattering glowing spores into the air like a surreal fireworks display. Major Brand emerged from the wreckage, his combat suit scorched but intact. He took a deep, measured breath through his rebreather, his helmet HUD flashing warnings about toxic levels in the atmosphere. The air was thick with humidity, the ground beneath his boots spongy with alien moss. He scanned his surroundings, rifle at the ready, his training as a Green Beret kicking in. Not far away, the second pod crashed with a thunderous roar, sending a shock wave that rippled through the jungle. The pod's door was flung aside as Sergeant Xenactus stepped out. The Sothan soldier was a towering figure, his liquid metal skin catching the bioluminescent glow. He stood motionless for a moment, his glowing red eyes scanning the jungle with predatory precision. Though separated by the jungle's expanse, both soldiers felt the presence of the other. The hunt had begun. The jungle was alive with sound, chirps, growls, and the occasional screech of something massive moving through the trees. Brand moved cautiously, his pulse rifle sweeping left and right. His HUD mapped the immediate area, flagging potential hazards. A cluster of spiked plants that oozed a thick acidic liquid, a patch of fungus emitting faint toxic spores. This planet was as much an enemy as Xenactus. He checked his gear, rifle, 2 grenades, a deployable drone, and an energy bayonet. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Every step was deliberate, his boots pressing softly against the mossy ground. He knew Xenactus was out there, stalking him just as he was stalking the Sothorn. Meanwhile, Xenactus moved with equal caution, his plasma rifle raised, his cloaking device flickering on and off as he conserved power. His enhanced senses picked up faint traces, broken branches, scuffed moss, signs of human movement. He knelt by a tree, running a metallic finger over a blood smear. The human was injured. That would make the kill all the more satisfying. Their first meeting wasn't face to face, it was a clash of weapons. Brand saw the faint shimmer of a cloaking field among the trees and opened fire, his pulse rifle lighting up the jungle with streaks of blue energy. The bolts tore through branches, shattering bark, but Xenactus was already moving. He fired back with precise plasma shots, each bolt carving through the air with deadly accuracy. Brand dove behind the fallen log, his chest heaving as a plasma bolt narrowly missed his helmet. "All right, you slippery bastard," he muttered, activating his drone. The spider-like device skittered into the underbrush, its thermal imaging scanning for heat signatures. Xenactus, crouched behind a massive root, saw the drone coming. A pulse from his wrist-mounted device sent an electromagnetic wave through the jungle, scrambling the drone's sensors. It froze mid-step, its systems fried. By the time Brand realized what had happened, the Sothan soldier had disappeared into the dense undergrowth. Hours passed, the jungle growing darker as the bioluminescent plants intensified their glow. Brand moved methodically, leaving traps in his wake. Tripwires rigged to grenades were placed across paths that showed recent movement. He even used scraps from his crash to fashion primitive alarms, designed to alert him if Xenactus got too close, but the Sothan wasn't easily caught. Xenactus disarmed each trap he found, leaving subtle signs behind. A broken tripwire, a dismantled mine. It wasn't just about evasion. He was toying with Brand, letting him know he was always one step ahead. The psychological warfare took its toll. Brand's heart raced every time he saw a shimmer in the distance, or heard a faint rustle in the foliage. His nerves were frayed, but his resolve was unbroken. This was his element, and he wouldn't let an alien predator outmatch him. The jungle introduced its own player to the hunt. Brand froze as a guttural growl echoed through the trees. Slowly, he turned to see a massive predator stalking into view. Its translucent scales shimmered like glass, reflecting the faint light of the bioluminescent plants. Spines bristled along its back, and its glowing eyes locked onto him with a predator's focus. He raised his rifle, firing 3 quick bursts. The bolt scorched its flank, but the creature didn't slow. It charged, its claws carving trenches in the soft earth. Brand dove to the side, rolling to his feet just as the predator lunged. He was out of time and out of options. From the shadows, a plasma bolt struck the creature's side, sending it crashing to the ground. Xenactus emerged, his rifle raised, firing another precise shot into the beast. It screamed, a deafening sound that rattled the trees. The 2 soldiers didn't speak. There was no truce, no acknowledgement. They worked in silence, their combined firepower driving the creature back. The predator turned its attention to Xenactus, its claws raking across his armor and sending him sprawling. Brand seized the opportunity. With a steady hand, he aimed and fired a single bolt into the predator's open mouth. The shot exploded out the back of its skull, and the beast collapsed, twitching once before going still. The jungle fell silent as the predator's death rattle faded. Brand and Xenactus stood across from each other, weapons raised, their breaths ragged. For a moment, neither moved. The respect between predators was unspoken but palpable. Then Xenactus attacked. He lunged forward, his plasma blade flashing as it cut through the air. Brand barely blocked with his rifle, the weapon sparking as they collided. The Southern pressed his advantage, his strength overwhelming as he forced Brand to his knees. "You are prey," Xenactus snarled, his blade inches from Brand's throat. "Accept it." Brand twisted his rifle, locking the blade in place before kicking Xenactus in the knee. The alien staggered, and Brand scrambled to his feet, his energy bayonet snapping to life. The 2 circled each other, exchanging blows in a brutal dance of survival. Brand's speed clashed with Xenactus' strength, neither gaining the upper hand. The jungle bore the scars of their fight. Trees slashed, the ground scorched by missed shots. Brand backed toward a patch of glowing plants, their toxic mist barely visible in the low light. He activated his drone, sending it into the canopy. As Xenactus advanced, his blade raised for the kill, the drone fired a plasma bolt into the plants. The mist erupted, engulfing the clearing in a thick, choking cloud. Xenactus stumbled, coughing as the toxins invaded his lungs. His blade fell, and his movements slowed. Brand didn't hesitate. Charging through the edge of the cloud, he plunged his bayonet deep into the Sotharn's chest. The blade hummed as it pierced armor and flesh. Xenactus gasped, his silver blood spilling onto the mossy ground. "For a prey," the Sotharn rasped, his voice weak but resolute. "You are worthy." With that he collapsed, the jungle claiming him at last. Brand stood over his fallen adversary, chest heaving, the pain in his side now a distant ache. He knelt, taking what he could from Xenactus' gear. A plasma blade, energy cells, and a communicator. The jungle seemed to exhale as the fight ended, its oppressive weight lifting. "Rest easy, Serge," Brand muttered, his voice hoarse. "You earned it." With one final glance at the clearing, he limped into the jungle, leaving the battlefield behind. Survival was still a long way off, but for now, the hunt was over.